What's up guys, my name is Zero, and in today's video I just want to give a sort of a guide on Albedo because I really like him and I've tested a lot of stuff on him so far, and he's a really free to play friendly character, so I wanted to share as much knowledge as I could because it's easier to test him out and build him for free to play as opposed to Zhongli. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
Before I start this video, I want to be clear that this man is 100% worth it whether you're free to play or not. He is 100% worth getting. Now, if you're waiting for Shao or Ganyu, then you might want to hold off because you don't know if you're free to play or low budget. You don't know if you're going to be able to pull them or get enough pre-roll gems to pull them by the time they come out. But if you are able to afford it and able to wish for him, he is a very good character. Even at C0, he does not need constellations to be good. Alright, first let's talk about his role. Now, while he's not going to do crazy damage for you, if you're looking for a solid one-hand sword user, or you really like his aesthetic, he is a solid main DPS for your team if you wanted to use him as a main DPS. While his skill damage does scale off of his defense, it is perfectly fine and really more optimal to build him around attack and help him do more damage overall and not just with his skill, but it's all up to you. So for his skill, I'd rather show you than just read it off. When you press R2 or E, he drops the solar isotoma. So, and it does geo damage to whoever is in the small vicinity of where you drop it. Now, what I like about this is you can do this and take him off of the field. It's perfectly fine. If you want to compare this to anything in the game, it's basically like Osh for Fischl, but with a lot more AoE. So when you hit somebody that's inside of the field, it does AoE geo damage to them, and it only can be activated every 2 seconds. The initial drop scales off of his attack, but the transient blossoms that you do when you attack an enemy scale off of his defense, which is very nice and very easy to build around. Just like Fischl or Kaching, you can hold the button and aim it where you want to put it, then let it go to drop it. Now I wanted to come out in the open world and show you of course the infamous elevator. Now of course drop it, and when you stay on top of the flower it lifts you up. As of December 26th, there is a slight bug when it comes to slanted surfaces. Say I put it right here, boom, it won't lift off the ground. Now I don't know if how soon they're gonna fix this bug, but as of right now, you can't put it on a slanted surface or a non-flat surface because the middle won't come up. Now if you don't want it to come up, then just make sure you put it on a slanted surface because it won't come up. Now his ult is really satisfying to use. What I was saying about when you drop it and it do damage to them, it creates a transient blossom. Those transient blossoms, when you do his ult, after the initial burst, they pop and do extra AoE damage within the field that you do the ult in. Now, you see how I just hit her and then create a transient blossom? Now, when I do his ult, it does the initial burst damage, and then the transient blossoms will pop after and doing extra AoE geo damage. If you're AR45 below, I suggest just putting your best artifacts on your characters. Like, you can get away with not having set bonuses and all that stuff, or not having the right builds on your characters, because the content won't be that hard to where it matters all that much. So just putting your best artifacts on your characters is perfectly fine up until like AR40, where you're able to effectively farm the sets that you want for your characters. Alright, now for builds, there are really like 2 builds that are really solid for him that I really suggest to anybody. The first one is a very all around, you can use this build for any role that you want to put him in, and that's 2-piece Archaic Petra and 2-piece Nobles. Now, he does geo damage with basically everything he does, so Archaic Petra is a must no matter what build that you're running him on. Another solid but not as much recommended by me personally is 4-piece Rotating Bolide. Now, Bolide is a very solid set for main DPS Albedo, because you will be able to create a new crystal basically every 2 seconds, as long as you're able to switch your other characters in so they can apply elements and make crystals for you. Now, he won't be able to benefit from this if you don't have the ability to switch your characters in and make crystals, but I mean, any character except a Nemo can make crystals for you, so it's not that bad. You'll be able to keep a shield on you, especially if you're running a comp like Zhongli or Shingen or Diana. The main stats that you want to use on his sands, his cup, and his hit circlet is attack percent, geo damage, and crit rate or crit damage. You'll lose a lot of damage trying to give him more defense just for his blossoms, rather than building him for attack, crit damage, so you can get a lot more overall damage, not just on his blossoms, even if you are just using him as a support. So again, for sands, you want attack percent. For a cup, you want geo damage. And for the headpiece, you want crit rate or crit damage. Now, you do want to put defense percent in his substats if you can, without losing too much damage. But if you just have to put defense in your build, put it in the substats. But the substats you want to focus on are crit rate, crit damage, and also energy recharge. If you're below AR45 but you still want to give him a solid build that'll last up until then, you can come over here to Leeway and go to the Hidden Palace of Zhao. This artifact domain, it drops something called Defender's Will. Defender's Will 2-piece set adds to their defense by 30%. So effectively, you can make stronger blossoms, which will give you some very solid numbers on his skill, without having to spend a whole bunch of resin looking for a good set, because this domain gives away Defender's Will and Martial Artist, so it's very easy to farm. For most characters, you want to get your energy recharge between 160 to 200, so you can be able to essentially, if you're not able to have it off cooldown, then you'll be able to have it in your rotation as you switch to them. I have Albedo on 132 energy recharge, and a switch comp. Like, basically a switch comp is when you do your character skill and do a little bit damage and then switch to your next character. And I have his skill off of cooldown. Like, that's how much energy he produces with his E, even when he's off the field. So energy recharge isn't really that big of a deal for him. You don't have to have it above 140. If you're able to have it at 140, 150, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to put extra energy recharge on him because he gets his ult back so fast. With Albedo being so versatile when it comes to his ability to do damage on the field and off the field, it makes him very, very flexible in what comps he could be in. For those wondering if he was able to synergize with Zhongli, he does a really good job with synergizing with Zhongli. Like, Zhongli had a problem with energy recharge and creating particles, but with Albedo, like, creating so many geoparticles so fast, you don't really have to rely on Zhongli to create particles. So you can use either one of them as a main support and the other one as support. It works just as fine. He is a really good battery for Ning, and he is also a really good battery for Noelle. So he can support Ning and Noelle very well while providing extra damage as well as providing them with energy recharge. This is my favorite comp to run that I'm running with him as a basically like a main DPS. It is a superconduct quick swap comp. As I said earlier, quick swap comps are comps that you switch in and out all your characters in a set pattern to get the most effectiveness out of your comp, and as well as you are able to regenerate your ult fast. Now, I use Kaching and Diona for superconduct, so I won't have to build his attack as much, and I can put a little bit of his value into defense to help his solar isotoma, yeah. Now the reason why I say I use Cheyenne in this comp is because her Constellation 4 is when you hit enemies with her skill, it drops their physical resistance by 15% for 12 seconds. So I will be able to put a little bit less investment into his attack and more into his defense, because while doing superconduct, her Constellation 4 lowers their physical resistance even more, allowing me to do more damage with his autos without having to have more attack. My favorite comp for support Albedo is Child Albedo Official Bennett. This comp is really good at melting mobs and does big AoE damage, because if you have Child, you know that his Riptides are basically mob killers, and paired with Albedo's Blossoms, they do big AoE damage and they delete mobs. So if you have Child and you have Albedo, then I would suggest that you try this out. It's a really fun comp, especially with Official, because you basically have two turrets if you have Official and Albedo, because they both do damage while they're not in the field, and Ben is there for vaporize and heals and buffs. Now, just for fun, you can run a quadruple Geo Team, but you can't run it with without Noelle, because this game only allows you to put 3 Geo constructs on the field at the same time. So say that you put Albedo Solar Isotoma down, and then you put Zhongli's pillar, and then you put Ning on shield. Now, that's 3 of them. If you put down another pillar, the solar isotoma will disappear as so. Because you will only be able to put down 3 at a time. See, now if I put this solar isotoma down again, that pillar back there will disappear. As you see. So, if you want to do quadruple Geo for fun, just know that you can't put more than 3 Geo constructs at the same time. So it would be wise to run it with Noelle if you just had to run it. But those are my favorite comps. In all actuality, Albedo can be put on pretty much any team that you want to put him on. He will work just fine pretty much any comp. As long as you are able to beat him his ult, he is perfectly fine in doing whatever you want him to do. Because he can do damage on and off the field, and you can, if you wanted to, switch him in, get 1 hit in, drop his ult, and that's basically a whole mob dead. Like, he's a really simple character to use and really simple to build, and you can put him on basically any team just because he's Geo. Another good combo with Albedo is Venti. Now, people want to know if Venti can proc blossoms with his ult, and the answer is yes. You have to make sure that you do the vortex inside of his field, but as you see, it does proc blossoms and it does AoE, so it can hit more than 1 person at the same time. So if you have Venti and you want to put him with Albedo, it's perfectly fine. He can't swirl Geo, but he can proc multiple blossoms at the same time. So if you throw an element inside there and swirl the element, then that's a lot of damage to small mobs like treasure hoarders and hilichurls. Alright, first shout out to anybody who made this part of the video. Also shout out to High Score and Charlie in the Albedo main Discord. I will leave a link to that Discord in the description. There are a lot of well-versed and educated people in the Discords, and if you want to join and just ask questions about different characters, there are a lot of people who are more than willing to help you and help you build whatever character you want, whichever way will help benefit you. Also shout out to Cleeful. They provide a lot of the numbers and the testing on characters that come out, so I will leave a link to their spreadsheet in the description if you want to take a look at it for yourself, and it will show the comparisons of the damage of each weapon and what builds that they put on them, and it's all at C0, so it's very free to play friendly numbers. Well, but with that being said, that's all I have for you guys today. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.